Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of With Wisdom. My name is Sam Surya, and I'm a leadership energy coach. And my co-host is
Hello, here Gabriela. I'm a embodied transformation coach, and today we have a wonderful friend of us, Mark, who trained with us like 4 years ago when we were in the Somatic school, training as somatic coaches. And yeah, I'm happy to have you here, Mark. Let us know a little more about you.
Hi, Gabriella. Hi, Sam. It's nice to be here. Thank you for the invite. Yeah, I went along to the Somatic school. I got in touch with them probably about 5 years ago. And for about 10 years before that, actually for about 15 years before that, I'd been working as a facilitator. And I noticed that more and more of my interactions with people were around not the cognitive, uh, not the benefits of being cognitively bright, but the benefits of being physically self-aware, of being emotionally self-aware, and being able to share that, being emotionally available, and also most emotionally empathic, anyway, I noticed that there was a shift in the way I was working. And when other people said to me, when I was chatting to people that did similar kind of work, said to me, have you got a somatic background? I said, not formally. So that's how I came across the somatic school, and that's how I bumped into you, Gabriella, and you, Sam, and we still keep in touch, and I really enjoy that. In fact, quite a few of us from the school keep in touch, and I really enjoy that. I really enjoy that environment where we are encouraged to not just talk about the work that we do, but to practice and model how we see the best ways of working to reach whatever end we're looking for. That's where I'm at
well,
today.
I can't
Welcome.
believe 4 years, Gabrielle. I
Yeah,
can't believe that, or 5 years. And
four.
it's just so
Yeah, four.
lovely.
Yes, 2021. Yeah.
And the richness that comes out of our relationships together has been wonderful.
And we were teenagers back then.
We were. My
Yeah.
hair was my hair was not grey back then, but that was because I was dyeing it.
Honestly, just
So
was shot on, hasn't it?
yeah, so that leads me to the opening question we would like to pose. Because reflecting on our journey 4 years together, I have been enriched by your wisdom, by yours, Sam, and yours, Mark. We even have regular gatherings through Zoom, and we met like 2 years ago. And you has been a powerful and rich source of wisdom. And I was wondering if you could share us about your sources of wisdom. Which wisdom do you draw on for your work and for your action in the world?
So yeah, I guess the wisdom that I draw on, I honestly believe that when I watch my grandson, he's coming up to he'll be 1 this month, and when I've watched him over the last year, within hours of being born, he was capable of expressing how he felt. He was capable of communicating in a way that he got his needs met. He was very effective in getting his needs met, in expressing his needs and getting them met without using any verbal communication at all. So I guess I had that ability when I was a day old, a week old, a month old, 3 months old, because if I hadn't, I wouldn't be here. So somehow I managed to get my needs met by communicating long before I had words or I had understandings of processes or understandings of mechanisms. I understood something deeper, which that I was a human being surrounded by other human beings. So I guess that some of the wisdom that I draw on, I was born with, and I'm very grateful for that, for whatever creative intelligence or creative uh, intervention developed that and offered me that. And I also I've the most wisdom that I have that I can offer, I've learned from the people that I work with. I've been working with people around their own personal and professional development for over 20 years formally. And before that, I was an employer and I employed young people, and lots of the young people that worked with me became independent and went off to do their own thing. And that was really, I really enjoyed that. So informally, I've been doing it for a long time. So, and I've learned from everybody that I've worked with, all my teachers. Teaching helps me learn. When I'm teaching something, I learn so much about. I sometimes find I learn more from teaching than I do from being taught. So I guess I would say my wisdom comes from whatever you want to call it, a divine intervention or a creative gift or the universe offering me an opportunity to have this experience. So I guess it comes from that. But it really, honestly, when I work with somebody for sometimes 6 months or a year or 2 or 3 years, and I see them become themselves or return to themselves, it reminds me of how it's done. And I'm not telling them how to do that because I don't know how to do it. I have enough wisdom to know that nobody knows how anybody else should live their life. Only I can work that one out for me, and only Sam can work that one out for her, and only Gabriella can work, So yeah, so I'm really inspired by watching people who are brave enough and hungry enough and curious enough to investigate how things might be, and sometimes challenge how things are, because it's very easy to accept how things are and go along with the flow. But it's a bit more difficult in a culture when we say, I want different, I want alternatives, I want options, I believe there are other ways of doing this. I think that's where whatever wisdom I have, that's where it comes from other people.
Wow. I like it. You remind me, I have been feeling, what a relief I felt when we train as somatic coaches, and also through the years after that, is this relief that you don't need to like tell or design a structure or a method that will bring people to themselves, because we have this wisdom in ourselves. Is how to allow the conditions and the space and be present. For me, when we train, what I learn is about this deep power of being present in the presence of the other being, and observe them as a powerful being that it's capable to come back to this knowledge, no, that we already have. And it was such a relief, because it was not like when I was training as engineer. No, you need to know how to work, how a reactor works, or a distillation tower, and these machines, so you need to create the structure and to construct them that they can do their work. They don't remember. A reactor will not remember how to be a reactor, but a human being, yes. No, if you allow them and you see them in their full capacity, they will then somehow see themselves, no?
Can I ask a question to you, Mark? Just going on the back of what Gabby's just said, in terms of that presence piece, and one of the ways that all three of us draw on is presence, which is what Gabby's just used, that word presence. So what do you do to kind of enable you to be fully present when you're working with a group or a small, a younger person or a client? What wisdom, I suppose, in terms of maybe things that you've learned, do you drawn on to be present?
I guess for me, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, as a youngster, I struggled with focus. I was easily distracted. I still am, and I don't see that as a problem. I see it as a gift, that I'm curious about things, get excited by things. Even sometimes when I'm making a drink, I can be making some tea, and as I'm waiting for something to happen, I notice something else needs doing, and half an hour I come back and think, oh, I was making a cup of tea. Now I guess I could put a label on that. I could medicalize that, and I could suggest that it would be better if I could focus on things. And I left school at 16, and I went for a job that involved a creativity job that involved me independently working with individuals and creating something, as creating a physical aesthetic and output and outcome. And that really fascinated me, because I couldn't walk away from it. I was working with people. I couldn't get halfway through a job and go, oh, I'm going home now, or I've got something else. I want to go watch something on the telly or whatever, So I think when I walk into a space, or when I step into a space where I'm going to be paying attention to somebody, and I think that's what I think attention and honesty are two of my favorite words, because if I'm paying attention to somebody and I am offering them my honesty, I will tell you what I see, and then it's up to you to decide how you use that or put it to one side. Because that's all I can do is say, this is what I'm observing in front of me, is you're describing this situation to me. And I notice when you describe that situation to me that you look tense, or that you hold your fists tight, or that you take a big sigh at the end of it, or I'm just observing what the other person's doing. And I have no problem on focusing on that because it endlessly fascinates me. And again, I'm learning, and my curiosity is being satisfied because I'm thinking, oh, wow, I can relate to that, but it's not something that I personally do. But I can relate to that sense of I feel uncomfortable, or I feel awkward, or I feel embarrassed, or I feel joyful, or I feel ecstatic, or I feel rewarded, or a sense of meaning or a sense of purpose. So I guess there's something, what I do is I just take myself in there, and I can't work with everybody. Not every person that's looking for support is going to find my approach or my energy,
I
my
think we're the same in
emotional
that. We would
regulation.
agree with that.
Yeah, it's sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't, and I don't take that personally. So I don't walk into that space with an objective. I don't walk into that space with an expectation.
Yeah.
I've been doing some sessions with somebody recently, and obviously I wouldn't share anything about them or what we're doing, but I did notice that in the second session we had a breakthrough. We had, I like that, it's us, they had a moment that really diverted them away from trying to fix something. Took them back to, oh yeah, first of all, I'm a human being looking at being more, or being not more in terms of a measure, but being more able, being more confident, being more competent, being more generous, being more understanding. So, and for that person, that was a big moment. And we will work differently. We work differently since then. That doesn't normally happen for me. I don't expect certain things. I don't expect anything, but generally I notice that it can quite often take people 4, 5, 6 sessions to get to a point where we break through either me trying to impress them or them trying to impress me, because there's a human tendency to want to be considered impressively. And part of that is a human tendency, and I think part of it is culturally conditioned. So that's a long-winded answer to what do I do to stay present?
Yeah, well, it sounds like you use curiosity. Definitely, you don't use that word. So being curious and allowing your curiosity to support somebody else to be curious about themselves.
I don't struggle to be present when I'm in a situation where I'm genuinely interested in a situation. That doesn't worry me. If I'm watching an exciting football match, I'm not thinking about anything else. If I'm, if I'm at a gig and I'm listening to some music or whatever, the things that really bring me into myself and really give me joy, and there's nothing but a somatic kind of response to it. I can't deny the enormity of the somatic response. And when I'm sitting in a space with somebody and they are honoring me with their trust, then I don't struggle with being present with them, although it's on a spectrum. And there are times when I look back and I think, I switched off a bit when they started talking about such and such a thing. Where did I go with that one? How did that show up? And that's why I have supervisors and trainers and teachers, because occasionally I need to update how I'm operating in that.
And we are all human. We are not robots, and that's what makes the joy of having a real person coach you. Because we know there are going to be those flaws. We're not superhuman people. We are. We have our tired moments and we have our joyous moments. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes what I'll do with that is I'll sometimes go back and home in on, maybe I needed to switch off at that point for this person. It's not always it's when you use the word flaw, I see it as an opportunity for better understanding my energy in that space with that person.
Lovely.
And I might go back the following week or the following month and say to them, hey, last time we were in, you were chatting about something, and I noticed I drifted off a bit, and I'm not sure why I did. And can you feed back on that? Can you remind me of what I'll give you the basic idea of what you were talking about. Let's go over that again, because I just want to see whether there's something, whether I was avoiding it, or because I'm not a fixer or a therapist. I wouldn't describe myself as a fixer or a therapist. I'm taking a 50-50 position in a conversation that hopefully might open up some opportunities to broaden perspectives. And that's what I say about when I'm in a situation with somebody, I learn so much. So I'm just thinking, yeah, I wouldn't see it as a problem if I switch off sometimes.
No.
And I've had situations where I've sat with people. In fact, I've done it as a for sake of a better word, a client as well. When I've been receiving support, I've had situations where we can have quite long moments of quiet, and that's not because there's nothing going on. That's because the attention is even more intense. We're having to cognitively think of words.
Yeah. And when I'm listening to you, what comes to me is that this capacity to have self-honesty, to be honest with yourself, no? So one of the things is this curiosity about the people, but also the capacity to be completely honest and also dropping all these expectations. Because for me, that I'm younger than you both and also more new to the coaching area as you both, that you have more time than myself being as coaches or facilitators, it was a big change of mindset to come back from this performing and showing off need from the corporation, which I was not so good because I did my work and all this stuff. I never understood quite well all this showing off, but nonetheless, you are in this space of trying to whatever. And was this training in the somatic school for me, it was a very beautiful opening because it was about in this school. No, I don't know the other coaching schools. It was about dropping all these expectations and what you're saying, Mark, no, just sitting with the person I think in the depths, you are capable to be present with yourself and honest with all the up and downs. Then you offer a good space. And that's what I feel when I have worked with you. I mean, when we were training or when we talked, you offer a safe space in that sense.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm just, the notion of silence, I think, is so vital. I think in a coaching space, and in particular, I think when we're working with the body, because we know that those messages and the wisdom that we have within our body doesn't necessarily come really fast. So we need that kind of quietness and peacefulness, I think, as well, for things to come to the surface, to come up, and for people to find, if not a word, an image or a sensation or a hum, it could be even like a sound pattern that they could share with us that begins to help them extrapolate what that message might be in relation to the problem that they've brought into, or the issue, if it's not a problem, the issue that they want to, or question that they might want to discuss. So having that silence is absolutely key.
I associate that with stillness somehow. About stillness, there's something about a stilling. When I get and people say this to me, people that I work with and friends that know what I do and are interested in what I do, something about creating space to see what shows up. We're so good at filling everything. Our culture involves how much stuff have I got, and we use that phrase, or how much baggage have they got, and that idea of being free of baggage, walking down the street. So I was away last week visiting family, and there were 1 or 2 times where I didn't need my phone, I didn't need a key, I didn't need a bag, I didn't need a pen and paper. I have no pen and paper on me, and it was really strange to be out for a whole day without anything in my pockets. I think I took a bank card, so that I could buy coffees or whatever I needed, and it was really interesting to be. And again, I go back to childhood, when a child will find a stick. Child will find, I don't know, a ball or something, a stone, and it's not. So yeah, the being still, I think the being still is so important for me in my own personal somatic understanding and awareness, because it allows things to come up that might be that might be used to being rejected or not being heard. And it crossed my mind when you were talking there, Sam, that why do people come and sit with me? Well, what do they want? Why can't they get that elsewhere? Why do they decide? Why does the person I'm working with that I mentioned that in their second session they had a moment of real kind of, understanding about the depth of what's really important for them. And all I did was ask a simple question. I asked a question and they were quiet for a while. And then they said, I think you can understand. And there was, I could hear tears. Okay, wasn't sobbing, but I could hear tears. Okay, and they said after a couple of minutes of just allowing that to settle, they said, "Okay, I think you can understand what that question means to me." And I said, "Okay, and it's the sort of question you might ask a friend sitting that you haven't seen for a while. It's not a biggie. I wasn't trying to be clever. It was just a question, and there's something about having those couple of minutes just to consider. What does that really mean to me? When I ask the question, what does this mean to you? What does that really mean to me? Not what a friend wants to hear, or what an interview for a job wants to hear, or what when I'm selling something to somebody they want to hear. But what does it really mean to me? And again, they didn't answer the question. It didn't matter. Because I knew what it meant for them. They now knew what it meant for them. And that's what enabled us to get past pretending. And I think the reason that people would choose to sit with me, and you mentioned honesty, Gabriella, I think honesty and attention and space and stillness and silence and time is what I'm offering. That's what I'm offering. There's no magic tricks. It's not, I've not done a PhD in it. I'm not interested in further training. I find the approach useful and I pick and choose from it as we go. I'm not oblivious to future opportunities to add to what I do. But I feel that's what we offer people. But it's quite hard to describe that to people because it's so rare that I'm in a situation where I'm offered attention, honesty, space, time, and stillness.
But you see, when I'm listening to you, you see I don't know, you might know Marina Abramovic, the performer artist. It's the same thing, no? She did this performance that is called The Artist is Present. And it was 3 months fully crowded. So people doing hours long queuing for sitting, just sitting there. And what she does, I think, and Sam, you, Mark, me, each of us, what we have is, I think, we live a life that allows to create this space. Is my take on that, and what I know from you both is not that we just go into the coaching space and then suddenly we are present. We are learning to be present the whole life, and that's what Marina Abramovic, when you read what she did, she prepares a complete year. It's not about techniques or anything, but the quality of the presence she offered in that performance. It took a year of cleaning herself and cleaning her body and whatever. Each person have a different kind of rituals or way of being. And actually, it's the whole life she has been training to be present. And that's what she does. She actually did and she wanted to do an institute of presence or something like that. And when you see how powerful is that, no? And one of the pictures in this performance that was the most impacting one was a woman that went to a doctor with her small daughter, and she came from the doctor completely heartbroken because her daughter had cancer, and the doctor said she will die. And this woman chose to go and sit in front of Marina Abramovic and cry there. And have the space. So you see the beauty and the gift, and that's why people go to you, Mark, I think, no? This beauty, it's an energy, it's powerful and doesn't lie.
And it's I think that's something, again, with why people work with coaches and coaches in real body coaches, is that it's a safe space to do that thinking. It's a safe space to have that focus time. And it's almost like, even though we are not holding them accountable, we are there, and we are in a way holding them accountable because we're in that space with them. So there's an opportunity for them to just get rid of the baggage, drop the stuff that's in their head and focus on that question or focus on that emotion, like the woman with Marina Abramovich. You focus on that emotion and allow it to come up and allow it to be. And then once that's come, then maybe she was be in a position to decide what she's going to do. But unless she honors that emotion, by honoring that emotion as well, lets you then move forward in whatever way that might be.
Yeah. It's a kind of cleansing, no? We have been talking about cleansing in the springtime, no? And today in the morning, Mark and I talked very, very shortly about that I was cleaning my home as I was overwhelmed by some narratives and thinking and too much things, and it helped me out to clean my home. It was a way to work out through these things, no?
Yeah, I did that as well this morning. I tidied up my bookshelves, and I'm so happy with them because you found books. I'm thinking, oh, I haven't read that one for a really long time, and actually it was my children's bookshelf, so it was even better. It was all the books I used to use when I was a teacher, and I'm like, oh, I want to find a school that I can go in and read these books to.
Because this is what we mean. We mean what we surround ourselves by, the people I surround myself with, the color that I put on my walls, the choice of a top that I wear.
Your plants
who we
behind
are.
you.
Absolutely. I shared something with Gabriella. We briefly chatted this morning about this session this afternoon. And when I got home, I was away for a couple of weeks with family. I got home late last week, and a friend got in touch on Saturday or something and said, what have you been up to? Have you had a good time? Or what are you up to today or something? Have you got time for a call or something? And I said, yeah, I'm just reminding myself and my house that we're in love. Because I've been away for a couple of weeks. I come in and like, oh, the plants are a bit droopy, and oh, it's whatever. The windows haven't been open, and I'm just like, oh, I'm so happy to come home. And again, I shared that with Gabriella this morning briefly. I'm using coming home a lot recently.
Yes,
nice. Coming home to my own attention,
coming
home to you, coming home to this situation. So there's something about when I step into relationship, I'm coming home. And when I think about my 1-year-old grandson, what's his concept of being at home? When we say, oh, I felt very at home, that we use it so lightly, and yet it's so important. And I just want to acknowledge that we are very privileged to have this opportunity to have this conversation, because there are people on the planet that home is a very complex and tricky, gritty sense for them at the moment. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go on, Gabby, you go first.
No, I'm just acknowledging that's and I know what it means. I grew up in a home that it was not a place I wanted to be. At some point, not always, but at some point. And nowadays, I'm so grateful that I have a place where I feel in peace, where I can come in and take everything out and just find that. And there's so many people nowadays that need that feeling, no, that inner home also.
Even I could have a mansion with horses and I don't know, whatever. But if I don't feel at home within myself, I don't feel at home anywhere.
Yes.
And this, I think that's what I enjoy being part of when I'm working with someone, is watching people rediscover rediscover their own comfort, rediscover their own relationship with themselves. Quite often when people come to sit with us, it's quite often about relationships with other people. But fairly quickly what comes through is that actually there's nothing I can do about the way somebody else is behaving around me, but I can change the way that I respond to that. That's where my power, for the sake of it, I'm not keen on the word power, it's been so thrown around these days, but that's where my confidence comes from. I'm confident. I am with myself in terms of believing that I can manage difficult situations. But it's easier said than done, and I imagine community is based on that. I've been writing a lot recently. I've always written, but at the minute I'm writing on a very specific kind of situation, and I'm imagining a community where attention and honesty is the currency. So we don't exchange money, we exchange attention and honesty.
Yeah,
and
nice.
somebody is considered to be a rich person if they are really good at paying attention to themselves and others.
Oh,
really,
wow.
That was beautiful.
Honest with understanding, not just honest in terms of being, critical, but honest with understanding.
Well, that neatly takes us into our second question, which is, how does the way that you're living now align with your desired legacy for future planet Earth?
I am aware of this question. I did get a little brief glance at it, and it made me laugh because I have no concept of a legacy for the future. Okay. I have no idea. I mean, my ancestors, chemically, they are in me and with me, and I'm so grateful to all of them because I wouldn't be here without what if one of them had a bad night or drank an extra pint of beer or gone off in a huff, then I wouldn't be here. And I'm really grateful for this opportunity to have this experience. So I've no idea. I like to think that my children and my grandchildren and their grandchildren would find a moment of joy when somebody says, "Do you remember great grandpa when he used to fall off the chair when he was old?" or whatever, and they can laugh about it and say, "Yeah, it wasn't that he fell off the chair, it was that he laughed about it," or whatever, he managed it without it, whatever. I don't know. I mean, I think that James Baldwin said, I've been using this phrase a lot. Children are really good at not listening to their parents, okay? Not listening to their elders. He says that children are really good at not listening to their elders. But in the end, they always imitate them. And because they have no other models. So how have I been a model in terms of behavior to the young people that I've known and that I still work with and know? How do I model what works for me? And if they see me happy and confident and capable, then maybe that's an opportunity for them to take something from that. But I don't do it for that with that outcome that the outcome is that now anyway.
But there's pulling in your home theory, the home, the metaphor about you're bringing people back home by showing them attention, honesty, stillness, and quietness, being with people. So there's a legacy in the work that you do now that will support people in the future to share that same technique, or whether they're kind of conscious of it or not, but in their unconscious with the way that they are showing up with and relating to other people in their world, that they're relating in a way that does focus on attention.
No, and I'm slightly glib with that. It did make me laugh initially, but yeah, absolutely. I hope, and I work with a lot of protest groups. I work with a lot of people advocating for people whose voices are least heard. I've done that for a long, long time. Professionally, personally, as a volunteer now, and in all sorts of ways. And yeah, I mean, the reason I do that is because I like to imagine that my great, 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 great grandchildren, if our species and my family exist that way, I don't know, but anybody's that the future people who, or anything beyond human, that life on this planet has opportunities for joy and beauty and connection and love and whatever. When you see a young mother tiger with young tigers, you can see the affection there. Nobody can, I don't care how bright a neurologist is, I can see that affection there. I can relate to that sense of watching mothers and children. And I hope that this planet, which so beautifully holds us, when we treat our mothers well, we are well mothered. Do you know what I mean? And we haven't been treating this Mother Earth well for quite a long time now, for at least hundreds of years. And yet in the past we have known how to do that.
Yes.
So I guess I actively promote challenging the status quo and finding new ways to do it based on mutual respect, based on understanding, and based upon being able to share a space with somebody that I don't necessarily agree with.
That's the challenge. I think that's another topic. But
but managing my own somatic understanding is all about how do I deal when I feel, oh, that person pushed in front of me in the bus. Okay, that can ruin my day, and sometimes it does. And it can also offer me an opportunity to think to myself, I'm so glad I'm not in so much of a rush today. This person, and I'm so glad that I am able to be aware of this person behind me with a buggy that wants to get on the bus, and I'll happily let them through. That brings me joy to be able to do that. Maybe if I was 20, 30 years ago and I was rushing off and I was going for a job interview and I don't know. I really get a thrill out of imagining beautiful futures, and I write prolifically about them.
And may I say, you not only write about beautiful futures, you are a beautiful future for many of us. Yeah, because I get so much inspiration from you when you decided to move back to London. I remember so much our conversation about the feeling you got that if you didn't do it in that moment, maybe then it will be too late, getting old and then getting used to, and to see that you growing older and daring to do something against the status quo, or what it means to grow old and be a grandpa and staying at home and all this stuff. But instead of that, you went again back to London and got engaged again into other work with future generations and all this stuff. You are already, for me, embodying the beautiful future we all want to see, a future full of cooperation between the elders and the younger generation, respect, someone that is also growing older with being fun, embracing joy, embracing beauty, embracing simplicity, and truth relationships. So that's a legacy I'm already getting from you, besides all the wisdom you have. So I just want to acknowledge that.
No, thanks for sharing it.
Thank
That's really
you.
valuable to me.
Mark, how do we find you? And so this is an opportunity for you to do a shout out for yourself. And if there's anybody that you think we might want to also shout, be connected to, or other people, it would be good if other people connected to, in terms of your legacy and in terms of your work.
Okay, so in terms of social media, I'm extracting myself from social media gradually as I go recently, well, the last couple of years. And technically, formally speaking, I'm retired. People keep insisting on paying me for work. And
I can't imagine you ever being retired.
I know. I do there's about 3 different sources of income coming at the minute. And this is a point in my life where I no longer need an income, which is a very beautiful place to be and an absolute privilege. I really welcome it because I recognize that many people in the world would not have that opportunity, but for all sorts of reasons. But yeah, if people want to contact me in terms of, I would say at the moment, the best place to contact me on Instagram would be through Resilient Voices Alliance. And I think it's resilient voices alliance, and that's we offer the group that there's only 3 of us in the group. We're a small group, 4 or 5 of us. We're extended, but actively we're a small group, and we offer support around non-violence and de-escalation to people that are protesting for justice. So if somebody pinged a message to Resilient Voices Alliance at Instagram, we use a little dandelion as a logo. When you see the little yellow dandelion, you found us. And recently, I used to work as Mark This. I used to work a lot around thisness. What's my thisness? What's your thisness? How do we find our unique, as the Greeks called it, heitheity, our uniqueness? And so I worked as Mark This. And literally yesterday, and I didn't realize the relevance of the date. The dates have relevance, but I'm not going to dive into that. It was accidental bumping into. I reopened a website under Mark This. So markthis.co.uk. If you looked at it today, there'd be half a homepage done and the other pages are still the template. But hopefully if you looked at it by this time next week, by the end of May, it should be an operating website with my contacts on. So if anybody wants to contact me about anything that I do, I'm always happy for people to get in touch. And I would say use the markthis.co.uk once it's up and running.
Oh, we've come to the end, and I wonder whether we should do something that we used to do a lot of. I'm leaving here with.
Oh yeah, wow, we did.
Yes, remember that.
Wow.
So let's have a little think or ponder. When you're ready, popcorn style.
I'm leaving here with a smile because it's always nice to spend time with you. And I'm also leaving here with, so that physically there's a smile going on. And there's a sense of, I feel I'm noticing a real sense of inviting me to experiment with how I hold space for people leaves me feeling really balanced. So I feel really balanced just now at this moment. So you're leaving here with?
I'm leaving here grateful to have a space that I absolutely love as my home. And my home is really important to me. I love the people I'm with. I love the space I'm in, and I, for many people who don't, as you said, I shared with us, you reminded us that there's so many people who don't have that, and I'm really kind of cherishing that I've got that.
Thank you. Gabriella?
Wow. I'm living with a deep gratitude because gathering today with you too, it's a way to recognize and see the journey the past 5 years for me. And I must say I love the kind of relationships, the kind of spaces I have cultivated in the past year. So I'm deeply, deeply grateful, and I love my life. I love you too, and yeah, and I'm very, very grateful. It's not only about this home, this space. Also, I love my home, but it's what you said, Mark. I love the home I have in myself, and finally playing for my team. I play for the team of other people in the past for many, many years, and I'm learning to choose by myself things that are alive in my heart, and I'm very, very grateful for that.
Fantastic. Thank you.
So we're going to end here. This is our May episode of With Wisdom, embodying energy in embracing seasons. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sam, and thank you, Mark. Thank you. See you.